Welcome to the Spinwhiz Comics Show.
Whoa.
From Raleigh, North Carolina. Join us for exclusive interviews with the publishers bringing you the newest titles in indie comics, webcomics, movies, and more.
No way.
And now, here's your host, Jeff Palumbo.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first ever Taco Bell in comics. Some of us are eating Taco Bell. All of us are talking about comics. And, basically what I did, let me give some background to this. So Mike Tiener and I and Ryan Cummins were talking maybe a month and a half ago, and we're like, we love Taco Bell, let's do this. And Kevin Rodatelli was there too, even though he's in Quebec and they don't have anything as delicious as Taco Bell. So I don't know what he actually made. We were going to do this and ended up falling through. And then last night at around 9 p.m. Eastern, Mike and I were talking with Ryan, and they're like, "You want to do Taco Bell tomorrow?" Or Taco Bell. It came up. I thought we were going to plan it for a month later, and ended up being today. So, anywho's, I invited in some people. The whole goal of this is just for industry guys like ourselves, and eventually it just happens there's no females on and stuff like that. It just was literally thrown together. That we're coming over, we're eating lunch, we're kind of hanging out. We'll be here for like an hour or so, just chilling with people that are in the industry. Yes, we're going to talk a little bit about our projects, but I think more people just kind of want to see who is who's doing what, and it really just is chill. It's meant to be that way. For those of you that don't know, the small press or indie comics crew of good people is actually really small. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't a lot of people.
Just laughing.
from the amount of people that we know, I would say that the group of people who know each other that can trust each other is relatively small. I'm not saying there aren't good artists. I'm not saying there's not good creators, whatever. What I'm saying is a lot of us tend to overlap with the groups we talk to and the people we know. And that crew, like if somebody comes to me and I'm looking for an artist, I'm probably going to go to Travis Gibb to ask who it is because he knows 3 people that are amazing, and that's his pipeline. If I need somebody to help with promotions, I'm going to go to Joe Valen and ask if Lily can help me. If I want to know why or what the easiest way is to transition from English to Spanish, I'm going to go to Dre and ask him what's going on. And if I want to know what the indie world is like that is super creepy, I'm going to go to Mike Tiener. So there's all sorts of reasons why we're doing this. We're going to invite more people. We're going to have it monthly. It's going to be fun. Hopefully Taco Bell doesn't sue us. So Nick Fowler, welcome to the stream. Bobby Norton, thank you so much for being here. And then Alicia Stair, welcome. Let Just Stream. Wow, yeah, that's been a while. So I'm going to introduce everybody real quick. We're going to get into our Taco Bell, and we'll go from there. So, and I'm going to go on my top left, so what I see kind of on the screen. On my top left is, which would your top right? Your top left. Anyway, over here. So this guy right here, Dre Daniels in the house. So I'm going to be dropping links in the whole time. He's actually the owner of Brutal Planet Comics. He has an awesome one he's designing called Trouble, which is just about to hit the 4th issue. So we're going to talk a little bit to him and hang out. Welcome, Dre. On my right, we have Michael Tiener. Mike is done a whole bunch of stuff, best known for Black Jackets, which has come out. And then he just released one called Midnight Highway, thank you. And then he has another one coming out right now that he's actually writing or co-writing with his fiance. So we're going to talk about that. Then down here we have Joe Valen. Joe Valen is not only a comic book writer, but he's actually even a better author from a lot of stuff that he has coming out. So he kind of is a dual threat. So we'll be talking to him. And then Travis Gibb. So Travis and I have known each other for about a year now. He's actually the owner of Orange Cone Productions and has recently crushed it with Voodoo Nations, which is just blowing up. And now we have his Cthulhu book, which is his anthology, which is also crazy. We'll be talking about that in a second. But he also does Broke Down in 4 Dead Bodies. And then, of course, there's myself. My name is Jeff Palumbo. I'm the owner of Spinwhiz Comics. And I have also some stuff coming up that everybody wants to know about, potentially, about Chimera being rebooted into a 4-issue trade paperback series. So, anyway, thank you all for being here. It's great. Anybody, if you're in chat, you're more than welcome to actually jump in. You can talk, you can whatever in chat, ask questions. My wife is in chat saying, I can't believe you're eating Taco Bell on the same night as we have our date night. Well, truth.
There's a couple guys that are in trouble with their lady friends today.
Yeah, so just so
you skipped over the Ryan story, dude.
I'm not skipping. Skipping. I was going to move right into that. So the one person that we're missing is Ryan Cummins. Ryan's like, yeah, let's do this. And in the last minute, he's like, guys, I have to drop because it's my wife's birthday.
Oh, my Taco Bell just got here. I'll be right back.
All right, so Dre's going. Dre's getting it dropped off. So Ryan's not here because if he was, he'd be dead. We were hoping to see the first decapitation of a wife just destroying a husband live on air, but Ryan got,
or at least a babality.
Yeah,
yes, definitely a babality. So, Mike, my wife wants to know: are those arcade games behind you?
Yes, yeah, and Travis has got it too.
Yep. Travis has the same Mortal Kombat one.
You can't see it, but Mortal Kombat 3 is running right now. On
So
I got a TMNT one on this side, but I got this thing kind of.
Yeah, my wife Tanya who is amazing. I will say that. And don't worry, dear. This will be all out of the system before our date night. That won't be a problem. She wants a pinball machine. Like, she loves pinball, so we're going to be looking into what that looks like and where to put it and stuff like that.
The South Park pinball machine is one of my absolute favorites. Addams Family has a great one.
Addams Family does. Ghostbusters had a pretty good one too.
Ghostbusters was pretty good, but it's got a weird long. I'm a big pinball guy, actually.
The Star Wars one was not good.
I love the Doctor Who, like the prior to the relaunches, like the old Doctors. Like, I really loved it.
I never played that one.
That's
the
cool.
Star Trek one was done really, really well, and the Star Wars one was done garbage.
Yeah. There's a few Star Wars ones I remember.
Yeah, the newer Star Wars ones are good. Like after they did the second trilogy.
Oh yeah, I need to get back into pinball. Maybe that's what we have next time. Is we everybody's tasked to go play pinball somewhere. Although with COVID, I don't know if you're doing it. So Tanya actually says that Addams Family is her favorite. So Joe, my wife coming through for you and backing you up on that.
Yeah, just get $7,000 together and there you go.
Worst case scenario, you get one of these.
Oh, look at that little guy.
There you go.
There you go. It's
the
little Ninja Turtles one. I got this for my anniversary.
Nice.
The TMNT in the house. And the Ferris wheel, obviously, Bobby Norton wants that. Bad Cats and Funhouse are his two favorites. And then Bobby wanted to know, Dre, did DoorDash deliver Pepto with said Taco Bell order?
That cost extra.
That does cost extra. That's more of a tip. So let's jump in because I know you guys have lots of stuff to do here, and you've been joining me. I'm going to shove some tacos in my mouth. So just because he's on my left, Dre, if you want to give people just a real quick intro of who you are and kind of what you're working on and like the very elevator pitch synopsis of Treble, I think everybody would love to hear it. And we'll go from there, and then we'll just kind of hop around real quick.
Absolutely. So I'm Dre, the Brute Daniels, one and only. What I do, I've been a writer, comic producer, translator. I've done it all so far. My major project I'm working on right now since about a year and a half now primarily is Trouble the Rhythm Within. And basically it's about a story about a question that I always posed to myself when I was young. What would happen if music actually gave you superpowers? And I created pretty much a system around each genre based on the stereotypes of music. So, Mike, let me ask you, when you think of rock music, what comes to your head? What kind of feelings comes to your head?
Sex.
Yeah, I was just
Good answer, Mike.
Freedom. I guess.
Okay. Nice. What about you, Joe?
What, for rock music?
Yeah.
Sex, freedom.
and you have the same kind of sex. It sounds. I know how you roll now.
About the same. Travis?
I mean, look at Steven Tyler. If that doesn't scream sex and freedom, because nobody would if he wasn't doing rock and roll.
Dude, I think of Angus Young. I think of Steven Tyler. Those are the first two I think of. When I think of rock.
So basically, intense. You think of power. You think of freedom. You think of. Sometimes people think of rage. It's like all those things go into that rock genre. So basically, when my character listens to rock music, he transforms into a ferocious, strength, adrenaline rushed beast, pretty much. So think about like in genres of music of that way. So it's like situational. So like I grew up listening to a lot of hip hop. So when I think of hip hop, I think of somebody's tough, somebody that's bulletproof, somebody that can't be stopped. So he gets a suit of armor and he listens to hip hop and stuff like that. So based on the genre of music and based on those stereotypes of music, you basically get what you're getting. One thing that I really liked, I took inspiration from a few sources. One was the original static comic book. Then of course came a cartoon, Static Shock, and everything about his Rogues Gallery, the Bang Babies, and I took a lot of inspiration from that, of it being centralized, not like a world problem, but like a city that's being targeted. And basically what happens is that there's a mutagen that's put into the water source of Washington, D.C. Oh, yeah, full disclosure, that's where I'm from, and that's where I live, Washington, D.C., for the historical record. And so a mutagen is put into the water supply in Washington, D.C., and it only affects people with O negative blood. That's the only people that feels its effects. So therefore, I chose a blood type. I did some research on a blood type that's not extremely rare, not like AB, but rare enough so I can get a small enough rogues gallery so it won't be overpowering to the reader or to one myself for production purposes. So I was able to narrow it down that way, and like basically the whole story is episodical. So each issue leads into another. I took a lot of inspiration from the X-Men cartoon, of how every episode after it was previously on X-Men, and it was never ended unless the saga was actually done. So I took a lot of inspiration from that, how each issue leads to the next. So each issue is like a chapter. So if combined, you'll see it as a novelization, all in one clean little sweep. So each part is a chapter, and it just continues a story. So my writing style, I like character driven stories that follows a very, very simple narrative, but it's expounded upon to the point of each little detail leads to something that was seen previously, so that it all wraps up in a nice little bow. Nobody feels confused or cheated, which unfortunately I've been a victim of for the last decade or so, because a lot of stories have been, here, throw this at you, throw this at you, throw this at you. Nothing makes sense. Great. All right. Now give me $12.50, please. Like, no, it's like, and like, so I wanted to make sure I crafted something that followed a narrative. And
there's no reason to bring The Witcher into this. Okay. That was a low blow, sir. Anyway, sorry. I had to throw that. That's exactly what I was thinking about.
Oh boy. Look, I was kind of disappointed with The Witcher too. I came in. I've never been a fan of the books or the games. I was never a fan of either. I'm aware of them and I've played them, and seen them. I was never a fan of them. But coming in as someone that's not a fan of it, and I'm looking, I'm like, this. What is this? Like,
it's hot garbage.
Yeah, I'm just like, At first I thought it was me because I wasn't a fan. First I'm like, okay, maybe because I'm not a fan, maybe this is how things work. Then I went back, played some of the games. Like, okay, no, this has got nothing to do
Right.
with what Netflix.
Oh, I also got a question for you. When your character listens to country music, does he get horribly depressed and can he drink a lot more?
You know what, Joe? I'm glad you mentioned that.
Way to work him right in, Joe.
Right.
No, that's an excellent question because I'm actually in the midst of writing the next series. And I am actually including country music.
Nice.
Because originally, I never grew up listening to country, being in the city. To me, the only country person I knew was Tim McGraw and Billy Ray Cyrus.
Oh, I can't stand it, so I don't know any of them.
Yeah, that's the only people I knew. I didn't know nothing about their music. All I know is that, like, Tim McGraw did a song with Nelly. That's all I had. I mean, that's it. And I'm like, I don't know anything about this.
So what powers does he get when he listens to country? I'm curious.
So what I'm doing now with the country with the country transformation, I'm still working in the bits and pieces. So each transformation has a mental and physical change. So right now the the physical change I'm trying to do with country is I'm trying to see if this will work visually as of right now, because I'm still playing around with the ideas. The physical transformation is basically he becomes a I want to be able to have a cellophane holographic gun that kind of pops up in his hand, that would then, just fire as far as energy is concerned. Because I think of country, unfortunately, I'm not into country, but I think of cowboys.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, makes sense. That's cool.
I think cowboys. So I want like to have like a energy revolver kind of pop up in his hand, and then like have like a cellophane cowboy hat kind of forms over his aura. And then I want to give him a southern accent when he does it. So there will be a little twangish, I guess is the word that they use.
Dre, if you haven't played the music backwards, he actually gets happy, gets a truck, his dog comes back to life, and his girlfriend comes back to him too.
Country is really depressing.
Yeah.
I think he should definitely have some sort of truck. I think that's important, and I think that he should have more freedom than the rock guys when it comes to the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
That's very important to him, and that he has the right to bear as many arms as possible. The rock guy can only have one or two, and that's really more to just show off and shoot up.
Yeah, he should have like dozens of guns. Yeah,
shooting at nothing.
Good idea.
The full use of a gun rack in the back of said truck.
Oh, now we're talking.
Andre, I hope you know that we all expected like 2% royalties from.
So Dre, I put for everybody that's in the chat and everybody that's watching on YouTube, the chat's in. So Brutal Comics is on Spinwhiz Comics. Everybody here is a partner of Spinwhiz Comics, by the way. It just happened that happened. So it's in there. And go read it. I think that's the biggest thing. Go read Dre's stuff, and then when's issue 4 coming out, Dre?
So issue 4, the production in English I finished yesterday.
Oh wow!
But I'm working on Spanish. I'll probably start the translation tomorrow.
Okay.
I'll probably start that tomorrow. So I'm shooting for mid-February. We'll see how my translation work goes. And then if it's by mid-February, that's what I'm shooting for.
Okay.
I have technology. I don't have to think.
So we'll have them sometime after that, I take it, on Spinwhiz.
Yeah,
so
I'm shooting for February 19th.
Oh, damn.
Right.
That is precise.
Yeah, I'm shooting for February 19th. If things go the way I want them to go, it will be February 19th.
Awesome. Well, keep me in the loop. I'll loop everybody else in. So thanks, Dre. I appreciate it. Anything else before we move over to Mr. Tiener?
It's just a really fun idea, man. I like the idea of just incorporating music into how it inspires people.
I do too. I think it's dope.
Yeah,
I've never seen anything like it.
Idea. I like it.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it.
And it's really good. So go check it out. Go read it. Oh, wow. Kevin Rodatelli coming in saying, where are the tacos?
Oh, God damn.
I knew that Kevin would be in eventually, and amazingly enough, he popped in right before Mike is going on. So they're right here, man. This is what tacos look like in America.
It's about to go down.
I don't know if they have these in Quebec or anything like it. Kevin. So Kevin, obviously part of Behemoth Comics, which has just come out. He did Freak Snow, which is awesome. So a little shout out to Kevin there. But yeah, you need to. I don't know if do Quebecians know what tacos are, or is it just like snowballs? So
you're trolling them.
They have Tim Hortons
yeah.
and maple syrup. That's it.
That's it.
all
Maple
that is,
syrup, whiskey. There's whiskey up there by the gallons, and then lots of beer.
Moose meat.
So yeah. So and
In
he's
the French
calling us
Quarter, they
out.
can make a beignet, but that's it.
Beignets are delicious. Oh man, that'll be the next one. Everybody has to go try to find a beignet.
What God's name is that?
Beignets.
Yeah.
Beignets are almost like folded donuts, right? Is that the easiest way to like? It's a pastry almost,
Yeah,
right?
I think that's a good way to say it. Yeah, it's a pastry.
It's
they're
delicious.
very popular in French areas of the world, like New Orleans and like Quebec. And
Dre,
I gotta get out of the city.
they're amazing. They're amazing. They're lots of butter, lots of delicious sugar, and oh god, you can just bad news. They're delicious. So the next up is Mike Tiener. Obviously, he and I have known each other for quite some time now. Black Jackets is up. He's sending me Midnight Highway. So, Mike, welcome. Thanks for hanging out and eating some tacos with us. What do you want to check? I mean, obviously, just like Dre, introduce yourself real quick after you swallow. And,
yeah, I was going to say, let me hurry up.
And then, general, what you have coming down the pipe and whatever else you want to shoot in. And obviously, the other guys are going to chime in where they want, and we'll go from there.
Okay. So I have been living in southern West Virginia all my life. Just up in the mountains, away from society. It's left me to my thoughts a lot. So ever since I was a kid, I've always wanted to like tell stories and stuff. And I think when everybody's playing with like action figures all the time, you'd always kind of come up with your own plots. And so I think storytelling was just something I always wanted to do. So took a huge break from it as I went through high school. I was playing music in a band. That was all I wanted to do then. Was be in a band and be famous. And then a buddy of mine got me into comics when I went to college, and he was like, hey, you really got to read this book, it's awesome. And it was Walking Dead. So he was kind of the gateway for me into indie comics, actually, because I was like, wow, that's not DC, that's not Marvel. I didn't realize there was this whole other world out there of comics. And so he was a big influence on me. Noble Ward, I don't know if any of you guys know him, but he was with Kid Comics for a while with Keith and Jones, and he is producing a book called Vegas Baby. But regardless, he was the guy that really got me into comics and really motivated me to stick with it too. Because I'm sure you all felt the same way. There's been several times where you wanted to give up or felt like it was a lost cause. So he was a hype man for me. He kept me motivated and kept me accountable. So kind of saying all that to say that I've been doing this for 5-6 years now, and I didn't think I'd actually stick with it. So here I am in year 5, year 6, doing this still. So what's been great about it is that I've went from just making one book to making a few. I've got 4 series going right now, and Black Jackets, like Jeff said, was the main one that's been getting the most momentum. So that's just about a group of teenagers that are monster hunters. They inherited the role from their parents, who belonged to a fraternal organization where that was their priority. So their parents go missing, and so now they're not fully educated in their role, and they're trying to figure out what happened to their parents. So they're really just trying to pick up the pieces and keep this thing going. And so there's these personal motivations to unravel that mystery, but at the same time, there's all these threats that pop up that they got to take care of. So that series, number 3, is coming out in March. I'm still debating if I'm going to do a Kickstarter or not for it. We might just go ahead and just release it and not do a crowdfunding for that one. It'll be the first time I did that, but that's we're talking about doing that. And then I just finished Midnight Highway, which is like a love letter to the 80s. So if you're a big fan of 80s science fiction and horror, if you're a big Jordan Carpenter fan, then my friend Alex Medea and I co-created that book, and it's hard to pick your favorite, right? Like if you work on a lot of different books, it's hard to pick. For me, that really is my favorite because it really does hit all the notes. It's everything that I've ever wanted out of a book, And so we're really excited to finally get that one in print and out to people. But it's just about a kid. He's a high school student, senior year, got the world ahead of him, you know. Unfortunately, one night he's taking a ride home after a really great date with his girlfriend and ends up on this highway that he can't get off of, and it's propelling him through all things supernatural. So kind of think of Alice in Wonderland and Twilight Zone, and just kind of throw those two together, and that's kind of what's happening. Anything can happen, but we throw in a lot of nods to the 80s, the experience of growing up in the 80s, early 90s even, and wrap that up in a lot of supernatural elements. The artwork's awesome. I think that's the one thing about that. I think the artwork has made that book what it is. So really, really proud of the art team on that one. Specifically, Headwinds Aldivar's colors are just acid trip. Really pops, very colorful. And then I got the last book I'm working on is one with my fiance. She finally got her convinced that she should be doing this. And so we decided to go ahead and make a Western with a strong female lead, because we were having dinner one night and we talked about, like, all Westerns really appeal to men. Like, it's written for men. And there's not really a lot of, like, we Googled it, we were looking it up. I mean, there's really not a lot of strong female gunslingers out there, at least in Western films. I mean, there's just not a lot, you know? So we wanted to make an iconic character that had a really textured, deep story, and build a world around that. And that's when we came up with Dead End Moon. And so all the story is with her is that she's cursed. She has an eye that can see the spirit world. And she is basically commanded by this ancient spirit that manifests as a moon. And watches over her and guides her. So the thing is, you know, when that moon is up in the sky, she knows that she has to serve it. She has to do something for it. And so it guides her. It's like her North Star. It takes her to where her next bounty is, and she has to kill whatever that thing is, essentially sacrifice that to the moon, and then the moon takes her to her next destination. So it's kind of like almost like a spirit guide in a way. But all of this is because it's going to pay off and tell her who her father's killer was, who her father's murderer was. And that's the one thing that's keeping her alive more than anything, is just the path of revenge. So the story about the curse, though, is that that's killing her. So she's gradually changing into something that is similar to the person that she's after. So she's trying to get to him before she turns into what he's in, basically what he is. So yeah. So there's a time crunch there. So she's in a hurry. So she doesn't sleep. She's completely motivated by revenge. And you're going to see a lot of, you know, the supernatural world as it applies to the West, or at least that Western era, the Weird West, I guess is what I hear it called. And that's kind of the backbone of that story. And that's what I've got going on right now.
Damn, Mike, cool, when's that coming out?
So Gwen is a fantastic artist, but she's a mother. She's a new mother. It takes her forever to produce a page. Through no fault of her own.
They do look good. The pages look good.
She's a painter. She, like, you know, I like, that's the thing about her, is she's a very, very detailed artist. So we set the date for September because we thought it would take some time, and we're willing to wait just to get her pages, because she was the artist that we had in mind from the very beginning, and we think it's worth the wait just so that she can stay involved.
Awesome. That's crazy. And then we will have Midnight Highway on Spinwhiz soon, but the link for Black Jackets is already up. So make sure you go check that out and read it. And then obviously as Black Jackets 2 comes my way, we'll put that up, and then we'll help you out with Black Jackets 3, of course. Happy to help you there. So awesome. Great. Thanks, man. All right, moving on. Obviously, you know, guys, feel free to...
Jeff, before we move on.
Mike, yeah, Dre.
Real quick. One, I love the idea of a female-centric protagonist for a Western, because that's one thing I personally never heard or seen that before. I've seen things that touched on it in certain degrees, but the certain films that have that centralized female protagonist on a journey type bit, but never in a Western set style. I think that idea is really cool. I think that's really unique. That's definitely something I've never come across before, and I think that's pretty dope. And especially to add your flavor as far as supernatural and things like that. I think that's a really, really cool idea, and I think that thing is solid.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Scott Wilk, I don't know if you guys know him, but Legend of Everett Forge.
Also on
it's a great
Spinwhiz.
series. I knew I couldn't write it. I told Alice, my fiance, who's working with me on the book, I told her, I was like, I don't think I'm the right person for this, so we're going to have to find a writer. And we found Scott, and Scott's somebody I worked with before. He writes Westerns really well. It's something that he loves. Once you actually read the dialogue for her, it really does give a lot of characterization. Like, he's done a great job with dialogue. She is straight up a hard ass, but not just for the sake of it. There's meaning behind it.
Okay.
I think that'll pull you into.
There was a show on Netflix for a little while about how all the men in the western town died in like a mining accident. So what was that called? That was good. I watched that. That was decent. It was something godless.
That's it.
Is it Godless? Something like Mikey, go watch that because that'll give you some influence. And then I remember there was a really shitty movie in the 90s, The Quick and the Dead with Sharon Stone.
Oh yeah.
Oh God.
Sharon Stone.
Right? And I think the reason you don't see a lot of women in westerns mainly is because the Wild West was really gross. They didn't have wet wipes, dude.
They
didn't have it was all sand and gross and all this other shit. And I
just have dry leaves.
They didn't have dry leaves, man.
It's just gross.
They just had cacti.
The main antagonist for Westworld is a woman. You know, the main villain. Of course, that is all a sci-fi show now. There was no West in the last season.
Yeah, they really shed the skin on that quick.
The West is gone. That is no longer.
Now it's
I was
just
shocked
world.
by that, actually. I was really surprised that they really took the show in that direction. I don't know if I like that. I'm still following it. I just don't know if that's what I wanted.
It's gone.
You know, that first season of that show blew me away because we've seen it, right? We saw it with Lost, you know, going back to The Witcher, we were talking about The Witcher, they tried to do it as well, but no one did it as good as Westworld. When you got to the point you realize you're watching two timelines, you're like, whoa, hold on a minute, wait.
Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah.
You know, it blew your mind, and it was so good and so inspiring. You know, and then it kind of loses its luster once you know the format, right? This is what makes it special, and that goes away. And I think that's just the nature of the beast.
Mm-hmm. That's unfortunate because the premise, like the first season, I really enjoyed the first season of Westworld.
It was so good.
I really enjoyed it.
So good.
But I mean, it dipped quick. Not only in how the story is being written, but in quality and then politics.
It had to get to where it is. Like, naturally, we knew that was going to be the thing, right? Like, you know, the mice were going to figure out that they were in a maze eventually.
Of course.
You know, so it's just they got there so quick. Like,
is it the same writers attached that started out?
I don't know.
That's a good question, Joe.
Yeah, because usually that's when you notice a dip is when somebody has a disagreement and they quit and whatever, and now you get this new hotshot coming in. He's got ideas. You know, we saw that with Bright.
Yeah.
With what's his nuts? I can't stand that kid, Max Landis, and he has ideas. You know, and we saw how that turned out. So
yeah, the last season did have the Game of Thrones people as consultants. So that's kind of it, and that's why you saw a lot of the Game of Thrones stuff. Like you saw the dragon.
That probably brought some deep pockets in to sponsor too.
Yeah.
So, yep. That's George Lucas's problem. Nobody will tell him no anymore.
That's right.
Right. So
yeah, but at least the story's original and not remaking the same movies.
True. Whether or
not they're good is irrelevant. At least it's new.
I will give points for that. I agree.
Mm-hmm. So, Mikey, thanks for sharing. We're going to move on to Joe Valen next.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, yeah. Yep, it's all you now, Joe. And then, obviously, you guys can bombard him with any questions that you want. But he is a writer extraordinaire. So I'm going to let Joe kind of get into the author piece as well as the couple comic titles he's working on and stuff like that, and then we can go from there. So,
okay,
all right, Joe,
you're up. I'm going to hide behind my mic. My name's Joe Valen. I'm an amateur arm wrestler and trash chess player. And
that beats me considerably almost all the time now.
We're 19 and 16 now, sir. So Jeff holds his own. He's actually very good.
I've almost spiked my phone twice.
In the beginning he was kicking my ass and I figured him out, and now it's now you got some training to do. But anyway, chess.com, Joe Valen writer, bring the ruckus. Okay, I got into comics because it was the only way I could envision looking my characters in the eye. I wanted to see them. I wanted them to see me. I also like to be a protagonist in my stories because I need an inside man I can trust when the story goes off the rails. But I will say this, my time in comics, I don't play well with others. I play better now, but when I started off, I was still rough around the edges, a lot more than what you're seeing. And I just had higher expectations. I figured we're going to make one comic, we're going to blow up, then we're going to make movies, then we're going to do this, whatever. I didn't understand the grind, and I didn't understand that in indie comics, the writer has to pay for everything. And so I worked 2 jobs. I didn't have a day off in 14 months. When I first got to Colorado, I was homeless. You know, I come from a rougher life and left from New York, South Florida, Colorado now. And when I got up here, I was like, F it, I'll live in my car. I don't care. I'm going to write comics. I'm getting a new life, legal hustle. I like this. And it was hell. You know, after that 14 months, I had an artist quit on me. And then I had another artist didn't deliver. Then I had another artist that his work didn't match the work I signed up for. Then I had another artist who produced 1 page every 3 months. And then I had just the litany. Okay. And it's not that I'm so hostile towards indie comics, but I'm starting to hate the term. And the reason is because I've had 9 failed comics so far. 9. And I put out 2 issues of Fibber, both on spinwhizcomics.com, illustrated by Rob Powers. That was supposed to be a 3-issue graphic novel. So I can't really promote the first 2 quite yet. But read that on Spinwhiz. It's a great precursor. He says he's finishing 3. I do trust him. Just who knows if my hair will still be brown. Then we have Dear Hearts. That's done by Jason Doobie, and his team's really good too. Life came up a little bit. Now that may become a choose your own adventure, choose your own nightmare novel. Just because I've always wanted to write one of those and I figured out the formula. But now I'm primarily known as a novelist, and I know this is a comic chat. So what I use my comics for is for a completed storyboard now to pitch to animated films or live action films. And then what we do is my manager and lady friend, Lily, she puts together a press kit for me. We take whatever we have completed of each comic. We take my completed screenplay because I write them in film screenplay format. I don't write comics in comic format because they ain't going to finish it anyway. There's no point. So you can figure out the beats on your own, be a professional. I'm busy. But I send in the screenplay. I send in the completed work, whatever we have done. Lily sends my press kit and we try to set up a pitch meeting. And that's it. So we're trying to sidle up with Netflix and some other stuff. The really strong stories that I have that fail will become a novel. So these 2 novels you see behind me, these are original pieces. They were not comics. Somebody insulted me some time ago saying a real writer would be completing novels. So I started writing novels. And then I went and saw him. I was like, hey, my book's done, Jack. You know, it was like a year later, we were on a panel together. And he was like, what are you talking about? He didn't remember. But at the same time, I wrote a book and I'm still eating on it. So novels, I think, bring in a lot more money in my experience than comics. And they can also be used in pitch meetings for film as well. So I think I'm going into television. I want to write shows. I just wrote my first one. And I'm going to go into film. Comics are always going to be like this just love-hate thing with me. I'm always going to love comics. I'm always going to make comics, but I don't know why, other than to just release them as, storyboards, really. So you can show a company that you're willing to spend 10 grand before they even sit down at the table. And that it's powerful. And if you have that in print, you send them a printed graphic novel, you send them your printed screenplay, you send them your printed press kit, and that comes from your manager. It's very hard to throw all that in the trash, so you won't wind up in the bottom of a slush pile. And so that's kind of my way I sort of am getting out of the kind of Kickstarter thing. I just had a failed Kickstarter at the beginning of COVID, and it just soured me. And I'm like, I'm sick of paying these people. I'm sick of bothering my same 100 friends, right? So I needed a way to make money from strangers. And the way, unfortunately, was to sidle up with Amazon and Barnes & Noble and Target and Ingram Spark and all these, and novels, by the way. And now you have audiobooks and now you have, so, and I don't need a team for that. I can just start my audiobook and finish it. And it's on my merits. So that's what I like about it. it's kind of like how I grew up liking team sports, but I went into MMA because I was tired of losing because my team sucked. So I just went out, and if I lost, it's because I'm a crappy fighter. He was the better man that night, you know? So, and that's how I feel about novels versus comics. If my novel fails, hey, that's on me. If my comic fails, it's almost 9 times out of 10 on the artist. And I'm cranky about it, and I wish my hands could produce that, because then I would circumvent this problem. But I'm coming at this from a side. This chat is kind of like I'm coming at it from a different angle. Like I'm a little bit bitter.
You can be bitter.
But I love you guys. I'm rooting for everybody. And I just think without novels, I would have starved years ago.
Joe,
so
I agree with everything you just said.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Everything you just said. The struggle, the grind, the relying on other people. It can be deflating.
It brings out the worst in my personality. It makes a shitty dude even shittier. And, I want to be a nice guy. I want to be happy-go-lucky. And I'm happy when I'm successful. When things are successful, I'm pretty easy to get along with. I don't care about money. I told Lily, keep it all. I don't care what you do with it. She pays me. She tells me when I can have money. So I appreciate that. So anyway, that's my piece, guys. That's all I got. I got a new book out, international best-selling author Joe Valen, by Joe Valen. And in it, I am the thank you, sir.
Great title, man.
I am the best-selling author of all time, and I find out something that makes me question the legitimacy of my success. And I'm forced to write a novel that's going to cement my legacy at the behest of a sadistic sheik that's absconded with me. And it's me. I'm in it. So you get to know me better. We have bundles on joevalenwriter.com. Both my books, Unkillable Joe. And Unkillable Joe is about a shitty comic creator whose characters come to life and confront him about how poorly written they are. And so that's a fun one. But
good.
Those two are available on my website, Joe Valen Writer. If not, Google's a thing. It's not hard to find. So that's where I'm at right now, boys. I'm just doing novels. I'm behaving myself. I don't leave the house. I'm not chasing ladies or drinking booze. I play chess, I arm wrestle, and I write silly novels for my friends. So thank you for having me on the chat. I do appreciate it, Jeff.
Yeah, man. All the links are in chat. And Brian Silverback's coming in saying he knows a few of these dudes. He wanted to say hello to everybody, too. So any questions for Joe? Because obviously Joe has a bit of a different background than...
It's a little...
I just think the next novel... I just think the next novel should be "Doesn't Play Well with Others" by Joe Valen.
I think they get that from the first two, actually.
Well, but I think the third kind of fits the trilogy. You just got to get it all together.
Yeah.
Almost like a Kill Bill, where he's going back through all these artists that probably owe him work.
Exactly.
And he's putting them in their place.
You just turned me on with that, man. Let me tell you. The next one's actually a dark fantasy. It's one of my failed comics, Lilith's Cradle. And I'm already 10,000 words into it. So
jeez,
that'll be out by the end of the year. And then my Choose Your Own Adventure, Dear Hearts, will be out by the end of the year too, I think. So 3 books in 2021.
That's crazy. Yeah, I have trouble writing full sentences. So
it's tough.
And I actually started out as writing. Chimera was a novel to start when I had written it or started writing it. And then I wanted, again, much to Joe's point, and I'll get into Chimera in a little while, but I had actually transitioned it because I wanted it to look like a movie, and I wanted to be able to pitch it. And this was 8 years ago that I was thinking about this, and now it's just even more so. But we'll get into that in just a little bit. So, Joe, thanks for sharing all that stuff. Any questions or comments for Joe before we move on to the Gibber?
Yeah, I have one thing for Joe.
Do it, Dre.
Your scripting style, as far as writing it as a screenplay, same thing.
You do that too? Nice.
Same thing.
Yeah. Then you got something to sell if it doesn't work out.
Exactly. You write as a screenplay because the overwhelming majority of writers and producers do not understand stage directions. Overwhelming majority. Therefore, you give it to your artist, and now it's guesswork involved.
Yeah, and he can plot his own page then, so it gives him a bit of freedom. Because he knows he's got 6 beats in here to show. That's generally 6 panels. Maybe a small window panel to add something else in there. That was a big problem, was I was micromanaging the artists a lot. Like, hey, man, put this over here exactly. And it was stifling, and I can understand that. So with the new film screenplay format, they feel a lot more freedom. Like, Jason Doobie really enjoys it. So we're cool, But thanks, man. Thanks for the backup.
Oh, absolutely. You ain't by yourself, Joe. You ain't by
Thanks,
yourself.
All right, and last but not least, I guess I'm last and least. But before that, we have the owner of Orange Cone Productions, and again, Travis and I have known each other probably the same time that Dre and I kind of met. But super talented. I'm going to let him talk about himself. Ladies and gentlemen, Travis Gibb, give it to us, buddy.
Yeah, I'm the opposite of Joe. I like collaborating with people, and I'm doing a whole bunch of finishing collaborating with people this year. That's
Nice.
my exciting stuff. So Broke Down in 4 Dead Bodies is my main title that I'm known for. Issue 4 comes out. It's done. I'm just waiting for a Kickstarter time to launch it. So that's really exciting. That's going to finish that 4-issue miniseries, get the guns, crimes, and F words all together, finish that opus, if you will. This just came in the mail. This is the proof for Cthulhu Invades Oz. So I got 50 of my friends to put together this beautiful, beautiful book. So this is a work of art. This took over 1.5 years to make. Super excited about that. Raised over $25,000 on Kickstarter and Indiegogo. I was super excited about that. Never thought that was possible. Not even a fathom in my mind that could be happening, but it's where I am. I'm also working on finishing Voodoo Nations 2. Just get the last page of line art that I got to look at literally the minute we get off of that. So that is finished. So that's my February, March releases. February, March, April, I launch a new series called Expire. Expire is about a world where there's several different islands, not enough oxygen to go around, so everybody has to wear these bracelets and see who lives and dies. You basically got a time limit. And someone wants to kind of break that system, because if you can break the bracelets, you can basically get free air. So it's about freedom, about living in confined stuff, very COVID related, stuff. Also, something that Jeff and I have talked about many times, Dog Days is finished, believe it or not, which is a book that 3 years talking about bad experiences. Joe, I had a book, full graphic novel, fully funded, but the guy went and spent the money.
I remember Dog Days. I didn't know what happened to it.
Yeah, the guy went and spent the money, like self-admitted, went and spent the money on a con, took the $7,000, went to WonderCon, bought a booth, and thought he was going to be able to make up the money. He realized that he's not a very good salesman, not on the internet.
Oh my God.
And art skills. Some people can sell better at a table, some people can sell better online, whatever.
Well, listen, if anything like that happens to you again in the future, I take 20%. I will get it back for you. You understand? So just keep me in mind.
I will tell you, I'm not tell you the details, but Jeff and I have tried to get it back during that time. But I think that inspired him to actually finish it. So we paid the guy. I saw the last line art, and I saw the PayPal records. Everybody's paid to finish it up, so it'll be finished in the next month or so. But that's 2 years in the making. It actually, it's one of those situations that you're talking about, Joe, where it holds you back. I have all these great things I'm trying to move, progressing, but people don't know the difference, right? Travis Gibb, you promised me a book. Yeah, I promised you a book under another publisher that I had no control over, and it got fucked up because I didn't have control over it. So I totally relate to you, right? I didn't control that situation. I just wrote it. My shit's been done. I don't know what's happening over there.
It's fun you bring that up, man, because I had that conversation. I was on another video call with a few other creators, and we talked about that specifically. Like, it's crazy that an artist, there's a double standard there, definitely. Like, if you're a creator and you're working on one book and that book hasn't made it into other people's hands, there's like this big question of how can you move on and work on something else if this is outstanding, right? And people don't understand that you're not the artist. You're not illustrating that book. You just wrote that and you funded that.
And they don't understand. So you guys are seeing why I kind of narrowed it down to novels, because I'm the only one to blame now.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Anyway,
and you don't want to cast a huge shadow on the artist or the people that are delaying them. Yeah, because that's not the way to do it. But like, people just don't understand.
And I don't have Travis's social skills either. I blow up. And I pour gas on the fire. I make a bad situation worse. So then the rep goes around, Joe Valen's a psycho. I would never work with him again. And I'm going, worthless, man, and I'm freaking out. And it's
You've never seen my Dog Days rants, have you?
No, I have not. I've always
I don't want to go back and look at those
drafts. Yeah.
I have more than a few of those. Don't worry about it. But again, it was really easy when you're like, this dude just admitted on a podcast and he spent the $7,000. It's not like, I couldn't do it until I found the freedom, right? So he had to mess up for me to go, hey, wait a minute, hold on, guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right, and that's the negative of the Kickstarter, right? People love Kickstarter, they love that it does stuff, but this came out in October, but I've never done a graphic novel before. I needed to make sure it flipped right. I needed to make sure it was bound. I needed to make sure everybody saw their thing. Everyone gets paid. I need to make sure everyone's taken care of. So, like I said, I have 2 books done, ready to go, which has never happened in my world. Normally I'm like, all right, we're close to being done. Let's launch. Let's do our thing.
Yeah.
So taking a pause and waiting, with money on the table, because it's exciting. This year I'm going to, release my trade for Broke Down. That's my year. That's my homage for the year. I'm producing things and giving you finished work. Because a lot of people can do an issue 1. A lot of people can do issue 2. Can you do a finished work? I want to see a finished work. And that's the biggest struggle,
Exactly.
Same thing with you, Joe. You got issue 1 and 2 done, and then issue 3 it struggles. And part of it's the guys like, oh, I did this. I thought we were going to make the world. Yes, but you didn't finish. And you want to blame it on like, yes, when it's finished, I can do lots of things with you. You have to finish. And I don't think artists get that because they get bored because they spend more time on it,
Yeah, he's not seeing the sales he wants to see yet. And it's like, dude, finish the story so I could promote it. Anyway, preaching to the choir.
Yeah, nobody wants to buy, the little bits of it. They want to see a complete stuff. I have tons of people who follow my work, I've got, a decent amount of fans. It's expended from, I only have a handful, 12 or so friends who back my stuff. It's all fans now, which is really, really good to have. I have a fan base of people who are ravenous for my stuff, and just figuring out what that is, and this year I have 3 or 4 other projects, it's becoming a living, which is really, really cool. It's just keeping that momentum up, keeping my excitement and not falling into a trap, where you get someone who's not going to be able to finish. Right. So, and that can happen at any time with anybody. So you just got to be careful because these guys aren't professional. But what helps me is just thinking about Rob Liefeld. We all grew up with Rob Liefeld, and I'm not trying to throw him under the bus, but every time you got really excited about an Extreme project, and then you got 2 issues, and then you never saw anything ever again. Right. So I'm like, all right, even the big guys who make it, they do it too. They have the same problem. So just keep producing until you get stuff done. But, this year is all about finishing, making sure people have finished product, finished work. So I can do that second phase of producing, setting my stuff up. My degrees in film, much like you guys, sending out to film guys. All my stuff is written on something that I could direct, meaning, so I'm not James Cameron. I'm not going to draw a T-1000 because I don't know how to do that. If you give me a camera and $1 million, I'm still not going to know how to do that. I could hire someone who can maybe do that. I don't even know who to hire. So I just do things that I could do, which makes it really sellable and really cheap. So film people will hopefully like that.
Hell yeah.
Travis, working with teams has been a good workaround for me. I can highly recommend Jason Doobie because he's got like 20 artists. And let me tell you, the cost, so you pick out your letterer, you know how it works, right? It's not that much more than a single artist. So if somebody quits, he gets somebody with a similar style to come in. And now I pick a style that's easy to replicate. So I don't want the viewers to lump in Jason Doobie with my unfortunate career in comics. He's actually been great. Now it's a matter of, can I find the gumption to invest another 10 grand in finishing this thing for very little return? So it's not on Jason right now. Dear Hearts is on pause because of me. So I just wanted to clear that up, but working with teams was actually a good experience for me.
Well, I've had no problem. I've been able to keep my guys around because I vet them very well. So I've been able to keep the same artists. Sometimes there's slower times and stuff. I mean, it took 3 years to finish Broke Down, which is way longer than I wanted to. But part of that's payment too. I didn't have the cash.
Exactly.
But what people don't realize is, All right, so now I have a finished product. I've done what I know how to do. Sorry, my kids are running around. I know what I got to do. So now who do I get this? Do I get this to Scout? All right, but it's Cthulhu Invades Oz could be a game. So should I target a gaming company? Do I need to buy more variant covers? Because there's a whole separate market. Let's say you get picked up by Scout. If I sell Broke Down to Scout at a record, I then have to, sell it to them, and then they're going to reprint it with new covers because they want something new. So I got to pay that out. And then any store exclusives, which if I've done my job right, I'm going to have store exclusives. I have to buy all those covers. So I'm still going to be another $6 grand in just for covers and not make money for 4 to 5 months because that's just the turn.
And marketing for ads too.
Right.
Yeah, so are you looking, Travis, I had a question for you. Are you looking you're a project manager, obviously, and a creator, but are you looking to also be an agent and a manager on a whole? Are you looking to liaison between production studios, or are you looking to find someone to do that for you that already has the connections?
That's a hard question to answer because I'm not. That's why this year, like I said, it's about finishing. Like I want all the finished works, and then what am I going to do with this finished work? Because I feel like, all right, this is what I'm good at. I'm good at Kickstarter. I'm getting better at Kickstarter every year, but I'm not, and I'm good at stores too. Like I have 21 stores for all my product, which
That's
if
really
you
good.
talk to an indie guy is not normal.
Right.
You know, that's not a normal thing. And last 2 Kickstarters, 6 exclusive covers per store. So I'm doing not only that, I'm giving them extra. They're extra investing because they like the work. So once I get all that down, I gotta figure that out.
There goes one of your artists.
Hopefully, yeah. They've got to leave at 1:15, so I got to go to them pretty soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what's up. So I don't know the answer to that, Joe, but I think there is an answer to that.
Because that's what Lily's trying to break into.
Yeah.
That's what she's messing with now.
And I consult people on Kickstarters that help them get to that next plateau because people know how to raise $2,500. It's getting to that $5,000, the $7,000, $6,000, getting to those 200 backers versus the 100 backers. And that's the harder thing to do is a consult on that and making sure that works. And I've tried it with various artists. I'm pretty good at it now. You know, just making sure you're right. But I'll be honest, you know, since we've been a little open here, there's a guy who I literally messaged me. I did a Kickstarter for him. I got him funded. He knew nobody. Got him his printer, his artist, got his letterer, did the whole thing, got him all thing. He did his issue 1 printed. He then calls me and says, I've got this opportunity to do this new comic. Do you want to do that? And the deal was he's an artist. So he was going to do 10 pages for me, just 10 pages for a whole Kickstarter campaign, managing it, getting him on shows, doing all that. He's like, yeah. Then he wanted to renege on the deal immediately. Came up with a whole nother comic, did his own thing. And then he came back to me, hey, I'd like to honor your deal. And I was like, dude, that's too little too late. You've already screwed me over. Like, and that's what happens. You know, these people are willing. And instead of going apologizing for it, he was just like, oh, okay. He was relieved that he didn't have to do it.
Yeah.
You know, which is really, really sad. He didn't want to honor his commitment. And I did all that work for him. And everyone knows I did that work for him. I let him use my name. He used my name to get on shows over and over and over again. And then he screwed me over. And, you know, it's going to bite him in the butt eventually. I'm not going to blast his name right now, but eventually someone's
Well, what does it rhyme with?
So listen, it is after 1 o'clock. This was awesome. I have one small update, and then I'm going to let everybody roll, and then we can do this again next month or whenever. But first of all, thank you all for being here ahead of time. This was last minute. This was awesome. I love getting people together that just want to chat comics, and kind of introduce people as well to other people who don't know it. That's a big part of what our community should be doing, and to be perfectly honest with you, does a piss poor job at helping each other out. So I hope to be that aggregator of helping everybody out. So, and I'm not saying y'all haven't helped me. You have individually, but as a whole, if you look at the industry, again, I'm a marketing and engagement professional by day, and I'm a comic writer, or whatever the hell I do at night. So I see that. I see the trends, and the trends in the comic industry are almost just borderline awful. From what it takes to grow an industry, what it takes in order to crowd fund properly and stuff like that. It's very siloed. But that's a whole nother show. That's something completely different. But I'm proud to announce that I am, 8 years ago, I started working on Chimera, which is a psychological thriller. I have spoken to a couple people that want to see what it's going to be like. So it was originally a 20-issue series. Again, this was 8-9 years ago when that was the trend of ongoing, you know, and then you wrap it all together and stuff like that. I have hired Casey Pierce to come on board from Source Point Press and her company. She is helping me to kind of lay everything out, and it's going to be rebooted as a 4-issue that we're going to wrap into a trade paper book.
Okay.
Issue number 1 will be launching sometime in the spring. The general idea and outline is complete, and now I'm starting to write. The summary will be done tomorrow. Issue number 1 will be written hopefully by the end of next week, and you're going to start to see the first, what would be considered the first Spinwhiz Comics original coming
Congrats,
up.
man. That's awesome.
So
I'm
good
so
news.
glad
Super
that
pumped.
I'm pumped for you, man, because you like every conversation you keep bringing it up. You're like, man, it's been so much time since I've done it. you know. So it's,
Yeah, I kept yelling at him about it. Like, what are you waiting?
Congrats, Jeff. I'm sorry.
I bet we all did, right?
Tires, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate
Jeff, we'll run another ad for that when it comes out too on the Mighty Pen. That'll be good.
I love it. Yeah, I'm pumped about it. It took it, and I don't know if you guys still feel this sometimes too, is that sometimes you get the wind knocked out of you. And again, my wind got knocked out, but it's because I put so much effort into running a company. So I switched everything from being a comic writer into being a distributor and a content promoter. So it changed my game. But it's just now that it's coming back, now that all the print features are coming onto Spinwhiz and all of the ebook features are coming up, like all of that is starting to, all those years of working on this are finally starting to come to fruition, and they're getting all ready to, all the functionality is getting ready to drop, which now allows me to go back and say, not only am I going to write a comic, I'm going to show the indie world or small press world how we can differentiate ourselves from Marvel and DC and all the bigger guys. And if it works properly, we as a crew of, 150 publishers will have a new way to do something that will maximize our potential for revenue and profit. So, but I have to prove it first. In theory, my theory is sound. I've passed it by my investors and people like that, and they're like, yeah, that should work. But now we need to prove that it works, because everybody else, when I tell them, they think I'm nuts. So it's getting there. But I'm pumped to know that it's there. I already have a bunch of support. People have been asking for it. It's different. The story's different. It's changed. So the issue number 1 that I had, we're going to release as a limited run, first time out. Like this story, it stops and starts with 1 issue. That's it. Because we're going to reboot it. It's still going to be called Chimera. There'll still be an issue number 1. But it's not going to be bought by Bong Dazo. He passed away a couple years ago from cancer. Bringing in a new artist with a new colorist. Luckily, Casey has my back, and we're going to make this thing awesome. And from what I pitched her everything, and she says she's never heard of anything even remotely like this storyline. Awesome. So hopefully people will enjoy it as well. Because at the end of the day, I want people to like it. Like, I want people to read it, enjoy it, and obviously hopefully make some revenue on it. Because Spinwhiz Comics is expensive to run.
Damn, that's got to be the secret. I didn't know you needed to write things that people enjoy. Damn it, my plan for 2021 is over.
I know. You're like, damn it, I was just putting stuff out there. So that's it. I mean, I have a lot more coming, but, I appreciate you guys being here. Again, it was last minute. It was awesome. I had Taco Bell, and I know that...
so now you have to go real quick?
Yeah. So we're going to need to really wrap this up.
There's a price to be paid.
Great talking to you guys. Travis, I've followed you on social media a lot, right? I learn a lot from you, just reading posts, giving insight, reading comments, how you engage with everybody through Facebook, so it's good to be able to be on a video call with you finally.
Yeah, anytime you want to chat, just set up a time. We'll do it. No problem. I'm always here to help.
Joe, I know we've always talked through Messenger a bunch, and so it's kind of cool seeing you on video too. Dre, it's finally, it's great to finally meet you too, and I've checked out the book already, so I'm gonna do a deep dive into that now.
Yeah,
I'll let you know my thoughts once I'm done.
Yeah, it's good to see you guys and everybody watching. I'm sure you're already there, but spinwizcomics.com. Make sure you register for a free account.
I should probably tell people that.
Jeff won't say it, so I'll say it. And actually do it. Just do it. It costs you nothing. And here's the thing. Who are you going to support? Webtoons, Tapastic, or your homeboy that's actually accessible, who's putting together people at no benefit of his own, on his own dime? What is wrong with you people? I had to choke you out. Okay.
And he probably will. That's the thing. If he finds out where you live, Joe will do that.
Choke you out. Anyway.
He's done it before. I've seen it. I've watched it.
So, and if you make him mad, he'll write a book about you. So be careful.
Yeah, he's the Taylor Swift of comics and authors.
There you go.
Something bad happens, he writes about it.
Anyway,
so, listen,
thank
guys,
you for having me on, guys. I love you.
Absolutely.
Hang on the line for me real quick. Let me get off here. Hang out real quick. I'm going to stop the stream, and then I'll say goodbye to all you. So everybody that was on, thank you so much for coming. We're going to do this again. Make sure you follow us on all the social media. Spinwhiz Comics, spinwizcomics.com. Grab the iOS app. Grab the Android app. We have even more coming in the next 3 months. Grab all the stuff. All the links are in chat. If you're on YouTube, all the links are below. Make sure you hook these guys up because they're doing it, and they need some cash. And who doesn't? Because really, they're putting all their time and effort and money into it. Help them out if you like it, or if you read it and you love it, buy it. If you can't, tell people about it because maybe they can. So thank you all for being here. That is the end of the first ever Taco Bell and Comics Luncheon. And we'll hope to have another one soon. So thank you all. Talk to you all soon. Have a great weekend.